Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. As you all enter, y'all please hit the like button or the heart button or whatever it is from where you're viewing me. It helps with my engagement. I do appreciate it. All right. All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon, people. We are getting ready to start our review of today's case. All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon, people. We are getting ready. All that feedback. So, what we're getting ready to do, we're going to review what's been going on this morning. As Friday left, we left with Dawn Richard on the stand. And so she's going to take the stand this morning. It is my understanding that she is going to be here, and we'll just get started. We're going to get started. So y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. If you're on X, please hit that heart button. I really would appreciate it. So we're going to be going over two entities. We're going to be going over CNN and Inner City Press. I'm going to see if I can get back to the New York Times so that we can have three different views of what's going on. We'll just wait for maybe like 5 more of you all to come in, and then we'll start. But while I'm waiting, let me see if I can get the New York Times up. All right, so let me bring up to the stage. This is Inner City Press. I have today's all lined up. Oh, before I show you this, I do want to show, because they're going to be talking about this. This is the scene with Moni for her having it on her page, because Dawn Richard is going to talk about she had a black eye there, and that's why she had the dark glasses on.
Uncle Teddy, you don't remember me from Twitter? I'm Gavilo's Beyonce. What's up? What's up? Yes, Uncle Teddy. Hey, Dirty Money Girl, say what up. John, when you go solo, I want to do you got
So what you're looking at is a part of a testimony that Don Richard is going to give in regards to Cassie having a black eye at that point right there because Diddy hit her in the eye. But what I'm doing real quick is to see if I can pull up New York Times.
How you been? I'm good, man. So when the album come out, Last Train to Paris. Last Train to Paris, dog? Last Train to Paris, Dirty Money all day. We don't like Cassie, our money. Must be well. Electro love. Electro love. Electro love. What up, what up, what up? I'm gonna rip this shit. I'm gonna do a show. When? Diana Ross. Next week. Here is our 25th anniversary. Hey, Diddy, P20 TV, shout it out. P20 TV. All day. Uncle Sean, Uncle Sean. It's Uncle Sean, Uncle Sean.
All right, let's get back to this. Did it stop? Yeah. All right. All right. So let's get into it. Here we go. Shout out to Inner City Press. I can't see. It doesn't look like they're doing any live coverage that I can see today. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We're going to be reading this information, going over the trial for the day, and juxtaposing it with CNN because it doesn't look like the New York Times is in the courtroom following everything live. Okay. All right. Says here, okay, U.S. versus Sean Combs, week 2 begins with judge ruling on scope of John Richard's testimony, then Carrie Morgan. Now, Carrie Morgan is the former best friend to Cassie. Now, Inner City Press has an ebook where they have transcribed the case from them sitting in there. And if you want to go back and support them and get this ebook, definitely go do that. Says here, all rise. So judge, I'm just going to say the judge. On the defense's application with regard to Don Richards, Ms. Garagos' opening statements opened the door to this testimony. As to Mr. James, the testimony would be inadmissible absent more. So prosecution, as I argued in my letter, and then they put note, the judge ruled orally on letters that are not in the docket, although they are clearly judicial documents. Inner City Press challenge to this is in the docket, unsealing docket. So this is what they were challenging because they're ruling on things that people don't see. And probably has a lot to do, probably have to do with tapes, probably have to do with certain witnesses testifying that they don't want everybody to know who they are until the last minute. I don't know. So the judge says, the same brand of testimony that was objected to on Friday. Does the government expect Ms. Richard to say what she heard and saw? Prosecution, yes. Judge, that would be permissible, just like the testimony in the recording studio. Prosecution, Slavic. Personal assistants were with Mr. Combs 20 hours a day. Their testimony is admissible. Judge, my concern is that there are other ways to get this evidence in. What Mr. James would add is just the postscript. Combs, lawyer Aglifino. On the David James issue, this defeats the whole purpose of this hearsay objection. The government is arguing that it's all admissible because the job descriptions are so vague. We contend these are personal matters. Judge, let me focus you on the assault on the chef. Mr. James learns from a member of the security detail that Mr. Combs assaulted the chef. Wouldn't that be in the scope of their employments? I don't know what relevance this has to racketeering, according to Puffy's lawyer. He says this is becoming, she says that this is becoming a sort of bad act free-for-all. Assault is just not one of the racketeering acts. And prosecution says this is relevant to the means and method of the enterprise. The chef is identified as a victim of forced labor. Interesting. Puffy's lawyer says, I'm going to defer to Ms. Westmoreland on the other witness. So if you all are not familiar with Ms. Westmoreland, when was it? Probably 2 to 3 weeks ago before the trial, Diddy was looking for a Black woman lawyer to defend him. My makeup's not even. I got my hair done, y'all, and my hair is so thick that my scalp is a different color than my face. So you see that, I'm just, on my 5 head. But he was looking for this particular lawyer. Now, this particular lawyer is a victim of SA. And if you're not familiar, she was the woman that was SA'd by a producer or whoever he was over at Cash Money Records. And it was so blatant that the person who did it just went ahead and pled guilty. And then she sued Cash Money Records and won. So this is the lawyer that they have on the stand that they're using to, and I don't understand why they didn't use this particular lawyer to cross-examine Cassie, but this is the lawyer that they have. So let's continue. Miss Westmoreland. Mr. Richard claims that Mr. Combs assaulted Miss Ventura right in front of her. Miss Richards. These other alleged threats are nowhere near any close proximity to an alleged assault. And she says, we have to distinguish between the Danity Kane and the Diddy Dirty Money eras. And Mr. Pierre telling her, where are you going to go? I don't see how that could be construed as a threat. Now, this is interesting right here. And this may be a good reason why he had her on the team, because those are two separate eras, Danity Kane and then Dirty Money. So let's see. So Danity Kane was formed in 2005. So they were active 2005 to 2009, 2013 to 2014, and then 2018 to 2020. And so let's see. When was Dirty Money? And they were formed in 2009. All right, let's continue. Because these are two different eras. Okay. And Mr. Pierre telling her where you're going to go, I don't see how that could be construed as a threat. Judge, we have an application from the press that emails be put in the record. I am directing you to put them together and put them in the docket by next Tuesday, and after that on a weekly basis. Note, it's inner city press request. Thanks, but a week late. Hey, you almost didn't have them. I listen. Shout out to you for getting those emails, because you almost didn't have them. And this is his filing. So here we go. We've got the jury entering. So let's go ahead. We're getting ready to do, this should be continued direct testimony for Don Richards. So the prosecution says, when Mr. Combs told you people could go missing, how did you interpret it? Because she said that at the end of her testimony on Friday. She says, Don Richards says that people could die. I couldn't believe that this could be the beginning of a journey for us. Prosecution, as Diddy Dirty Money? Don Richards, yes. Slavic. Prosecution, what did you observe? Richards. Dawn, I'm just going to call her Dawn. He would drag her and kick her and punch her in the mouth. Prosecution, what would prompt these acts of violence? And then Attorney Westmoreland for the defense yells objection. And the judge says overruled. Don Richard, when she would speak up for herself. Let me go ahead and, I think it'll be better for me if I go ahead and heart the ones I've already read. So if some way that we get lapped up or crossed up in a thread. All right. So I'll heart them as I read them. Prosecution, who in security witnessed these things? Don, D-Rock, and Bonds. Now, D-Rock and Bonds, I believe, are the security. Well, they are the security, Pam. So you just read that. Prosecution, where did Miss Ventura get hit? Don, her knees, her face, all over. Prosecution, did there come a time when you were in New York for a festival? Don Richard, yes, in Central Park. Now, I just showed you that video for Central Park. And if you didn't see it, hello. Hey, Tina. No worries. I'm going to be on here because I usually start right when they go to lunch, and I start with their morning, and then by the time they get back from lunch, and halfway through, we won't catch up. We'll probably, unless they go really quick, but I'll be here to 4:00. 4:00 Central Standard Time, and that will be 5:00 Eastern Standard Time. Come on back and ask these questions. So I just showed you that video. If you want to see that video again, just put it down in the chat. I definitely will play it, but just let me know before I get too far past this particular tweet. Prosecution, in the residence, what happened? Don, he punched Cassie. She came into the bathroom crying. You could see her upset, like she was hurt. And then the defense objection. The judge sustained. What injuries did you observe? And Don says a full swollen eye. Prosecution, why'd you remain with Miss Ventura after this incident? She said, I wanted her to feel supported. Now, they're talking about this incident at Central Park because there was this big festival and they were supposed to perform there. I wanted her to feel supported. Prosecution, what's this? Don Richards, the Central Park event. Photos of Cassie's in sunglasses, and Don Richard too. They asked, why did you wear them? Don says, for solidarity. Prosecution, the next assault, who was there? Don, D-Rock, and Capricorn Clark, and Harvey Pierre. Who was Mr. Pierre? Don Richards, at Bad Boy, answering to Sean Combs. So let's really quickly Capricorn Clark. Oh, okay. I wonder if she's going to testify. Hmm. I wonder if she's going to testify because if I'm not mistaken, I believe she was the assistant. You remember when I was telling you all there was this show about being Diddy's assistant, and there was a lady up there who was in business and stuff like that. I believe this was Capricorn Clark. I believe it was Capricorn Clark. And looks like Capricorn Clark and Lauren London are good friends. That's what it looks like. Because let me. Because when you see this picture, because this is Capricorn Clark, this is Cassie, this is Lauren London, and I don't know, this is Sarib Baez. So she was one of Diddy's assistants. And I believe she is the woman that was on that show that was talking about being Diddy's assistant. I'm going to keep that over here. Interesting. The prosecution, did they do anything? Dawn, none of us did anything. Mm, mm, mm. When we drove back to LA, he slapped Cassie in the mouth and told her to shut the fuck up. Prosecution. How did the passengers respond? Don Richard. We stayed silent for the rest of the ride. So there she's describing instances where he would literally abuse her in the public. Now, we do know that Diddy has copped to the domestic violence, but it's interesting, and this is probably one of the better tests to see that people will sit and be around the violence and not say anything. They'll sit and be stumm. And then let's say one of those blows would have caused her to be pruned from the timeline. Then everybody is like, well, we knew it, but no one has said anything or did anything. And plus, part of that too is they don't know where she's at as far as in that, how deep that goes, because sometimes it takes several times for a person to get out of a domestic violence situation, and sometimes you will assist them to a certain point, and they'll just say, they'll go right back. So it's just one of these tricky things, but still offer help. Just offer it. If they choose not to take it, then that's the case, but always just offer. Don Richard, I asked myself, if he did that to someone he supposedly loved, what'd he do to an employee? So I'd approach Mr. Combs with softness. Did you try to intervene in the relationship? Richards, no, for my own safety. Now, if you're not also familiar, she has a lawsuit against Diddy as well. And in her lawsuit, she outlines that Diddy locked her in some kind of car and would not release her. Hold on. So we have it here. Let's see. Oh, it's 55 pages. I don't want to go through it, but let's see if we can I was trying to search the document. So they're pulling from her lawsuit as well. But anyway, in her lawsuit, and I will find it, she does mention the fact that Diddy locked her in a car and wouldn't release her. And because he wouldn't release her, she was locked in that car so long that she had to call her father in Baltimore. And the father came up to get her. And she said that her father came up to get her. Hold on, y'all, because I need y'all to see this. All right. It says here, this is in her complaint. Mr. Combs' facial expression shifted as he stepped towards Miss Richard, raised his arm, and swung his fist toward her face. Believing that Mr. Combs was going to hit her, Miss Richard braced for the impact. Before Mr. Combs could strike her, Mr. Combs' bodyguard grabbed her, escorted her out of the studio, and forced her into the Bad Boys Records Bentley that was parked outside. Miss Harper ran after Miss Richard and Mr. Combs' bodyguard, closed and locked the Bentley door with both women inside. Inside the vehicle, Miss Richard realized that there were no interior door handles and that they were locked inside with no way to escape. Miss Richard's belongings were in the studios, but she was able to call her father from Miss Harper's cell phone. Miss Richard relayed to her father what happened and that she needed help and feared that she would go missing. Moments later, Mr. Combs' bodyguard removed only Miss Harper from the Bentley, leaving Miss Richard locked in the car alone for over 2 hours. Miss Richard screamed as loudly as she could, but no one responded. It was late evening in the wintertime. The windows were heavily tinted, and the interior of the car was dark except for a faint interior light. Miss Richard's belongings and winter coat were in the studio while the ignition was off and there was no heat. With Mr. Combs' prior threats and violence running through her mind, she felt a sheer panic, terror, and feeling of claustrophobia as being locked in a small, dark, enclosed space with no one to communicate or call for help. She began to feel cold and fear for her life, not knowing when or if she'd be released. She said her father drove to New York from Baltimore and arrived at the studio approximately 2 hours later. Only after her father arrived and demanded to see her did Mr. Pierre order Mr. Combs' bodyguard to release Miss Richard from the vehicle. Mr. Pierre ushered Miss Richard's father between several rooms at the studio, where he waited for approximately 2 hours before being able to confront Puffy. Once Miss Richard's father expressed that he intended to call the police, Combs warned him to think about your family and think about your daughter's career. Her father appeared visibly frightened by Mr. Combs' threats and actions, which in turn made Miss Richard feel terrified for herself and her family's safety. So that's coming off of Don Richard's lawsuit. But let's continue going on with what we have. Hold on. I'm wondering if they're going to mention this in the questioning. I asked myself if he did that to someone supposedly loved, what would he do to an employee? So I approached Mr. Combs with softness. And that's so sad that he was just, I mean, it was just to the point where people just wouldn't, you couldn't be natural around him, authentic, because you were fearing for your life. Jeez. Did you try to intervene in the relationship? Don Richard, no, for my own safety. Prosecution, did you see Mr. Combs using drugs? Richard, yes. Weed, ketamine, Molly, cocaine. Prosecution, opiates. Richard, that I never saw. Prosecution, who bought him the drugs? Richards, One Stop. He had it all, including Plan B birth control. Man, he was walking pharmaceutical, Mr. One Stop. You can get it all, Mr. One Stop. Prosecution, did you see Mr. Combs with guns? Don Richard, yes, handguns on his lower back. Prosecution, who had guns? Don Richards. Security, D-Rock and Bonds. Prosecution, what did you do after Bad Boy? Don Richards, sing. Whenever I got momentum, I'd get FaceTime from him. Prosecution. How would you speak to him? Don, very soft. I always called him bro. Prosecution, why did you not disclose the abuse you'd seen? Don, I was told not to by Mr. Combs and Harvey Pierre. Prosecution. Now, Harvey Pierre has a case against him as well. There was someone that was suing him for SA at the Bad Boy Records place. Prosecution. When did you speak out? Don Richards in 2024. Don Richards. I saw Miss Ventura take the stand and tell the truth. Westmoreland. Objection. Judge, sustain. Prosecution. Did you see Miss Ventura file a civil lawsuit and then file your own? Don Richard. Yes. Judge. Cross. Westmoreland. You are aware there is a motion to dismiss your lawsuit. Richards. I have civil lawyers. I'm quite sure that Puffy has put a whole lot of motions. And if you don't know, I'm going to go back. I'm going to be going back and forth between Sean, Puffy, and Diddy, because those are the names that I know him as. Westmoreland, you sat with the prosecutors and you allege and your allegations have changed. Richards, I've been consistent. Westmoreland, you testified he attempted to hit her about the eggs and Miss Ventura dropped down to the fetal position, right? Don, yes. Westmoreland, did you ever say you heard a pan hit the wall? You didn't see it. Don, I don't recall. Westmoreland, would you agree with me that it has been hard for you to keep your story straight with respect to this egg incident? Richards, I told it as close as I could. Westmoreland, the day after you saw Mr. Combs said people go missing. Yes. Westmoreland, let's do your interview on March 18th, 2025. You did not say anything about Mr. Combs told you people go missing. Don Richard, I don't recall that. Westmoreland, no worries. I'm going to show you a document for the parties only. And it's on page 5. Westmoreland, isn't it true the first time you said this was a week ago? Would you like me to show you your previous interviews? Richards, I know what I said. Westmoreland, you said Mr. Combs made a death threat, one that you didn't recall 7 times. Westmoreland, let's move to alleged incidents before the Central Park concert. You are aware that there were camera crews. Richard, not in the bathroom. Westmoreland, you were filmed in the park. Are you aware of the video that has been turned over? No. Westmoreland, about the guns. You didn't tell the prosecutors about I saw guns at Diddy's house. Richards, they didn't ask. Westmoreland, you never saw Mr. Combs pull a gun out and wave it around, load bullets or cock it. Don, he just had it. Westmoreland, did you tell the government you never saw Mr. Combs do cocaine? Don, I don't recall. Your testimony has changed on quite a few things, Don. As time progresses, I remember more. Westmoreland, you saw One Stop sell drugs. You saw him take money? Richards, yes. Westmoreland, all right, 1 second. Didn't you tell the government you never saw anyone pay him? So you lied, right? Richards, no. Judge, sidebar. So they're asking you to support the Google Doc. And if you want to support that, go do that. Back from sidebar. Westmoreland, it was you who reached out to Mr. Combs to work with him again. Richards, yes. Westmoreland, but he had threatened you, right? You had asked him to work with you again. Don Richards, yes. Westmoreland, okay. Westmoreland, the songs you released on your own have not reached the level of what you released with Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, right? Don Richards, true. Westmoreland, and you reached out to Mr. Combs to try to make more money, right? Yes. And the prosecution wants to have a short sidebar, and it is not short. Still wondering why the side's legal arguments to the judge, judicial documents only go to the doctors on weekly. So he's still wanting them documents. He wants these documents released every day. They're back to sidebar, and then they have a redirect. Prosecution, why did you file your civil lawsuit? Richards, when I worked for Sean Combs, I had no sleep. The conditions. Prosecution, in every meeting with the government, did you say that Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura? Yes. Why did you reach out to Mr. Combs? Dawn, one of the judge on Making the Band, Lorianne Gibson, I wanted to reach out, and then there was an objection, and then the judge sustained. Prosecution, how often would you hear from Mr. Combs after you left Diddy Dirty Money? Sporadically. Sporadic. Prosecution, why did you reach out? Dawn, to help Kalina Harper. Prosecution, no further questions. So we have a recross. May we have a brief conference at the bench? Sidebar ensues. Ms. Westmoreland, you admit you reached out to Mr. Combs to re-engage, you claim, only to have a relationship with Lorianne Gibson. But if it got back together, you'd have to see Mr. Combs more, right? Don Richards, yes. Westmoreland, you sued for money, right? Don Richards, for justice. Westmoreland, but the suits asked for money, right? Don Richards, yes. Westmoreland, no further questions. Ms. Slavic, she says she has no redirect. Combs, Donaldson, break. Okay, a break. So they took a break. And right here, we'll go over to CNN and see what they have going on. So here's some, y'all, Why did y'all have me up here talking about this and y'all couldn't see it? Ventura's mom. So it looks like Cassie's mom and her former best friend. So Carrie Morgan and Cassie Ventura's former best friend will be the next witness after Dawn Richards finished giving her testimony. Ventura's mom is also among the witnesses expected to testify this week. So we may hear from her today. It says the judge rules on what Ventura's friend can testify to. Cassie Ventura's former longtime friend, Carrie Morgan, is expected to testify today. Judge Aron Sabramian ruled that Morgan can testify that Ventura told her that she was scared of Sean Combs and told her that she could not break up with him because he controlled her career. And so they go into a summary of the Homeland Security testimony and what John Richards said on the trial on the stand Friday. So they're waiting on a juror who was late. So let's continue. Jury is entering and Dawn Richards is back on the stand. Richards says that she frequently saw Combs be violent toward Ventura. Dawn Richards testified after the 2009 incidents in which she said she saw Diddy come back and attack Cassie. She frequently saw Combs being violent toward Ventura. He would punch her, choke her, drag her, slap her in the mouth, Richards said. I saw him kick her, punch her in the mouth. She said that the violence was prompted by a variety of reasons. It could be Cass speaking up for herself. It could be random. We didn't know where it came from. Dawn Richards says she saw Cassie Ventura at different times with different injuries on her face, arms, legs after Sean Diddy Combs was violent toward his former girlfriend. Ventura attempted to cover up the injuries with clothing, makeup, and sunglasses, Richards said. Some members of Combs' security staff also witnessed Combs being violent towards Ventura, Richards said. They wouldn't react. They wouldn't do anything. Jury sees photos of Ventura's friends wearing sunglasses in solidarity after alleged attack. Dawn Richards is testifying about a time in 2009 that she was at Sean Diddy Combs' home in New York with Cassie Ventura and Kalina Harper. Combs, Richard, and Harper were in the music trio Diddy Dirty Money. Combs and Ventura got into an argument, and then he punched her in her face, Richard said. Richard said Ventura went into the bathroom crying while Combs walked off angry. Richard said that Ventura's eye was swollen, so she put on makeup and wore sunglasses to try to hide the injury. Damn. The jury saw a photo of the three women wearing sunglasses in public after the alleged assault. Richard said she and Harper also wore sunglasses. To have solidarity, to be a friend, to be a support system from someone who needed. So let me go back here, because I think I started everything. So this is after that bathroom incident. So they go to the festival, they go to the park. And so you're gonna see Kalina, Dawn. You're gonna see Kalina and Dawn and Cassie. Now you see Cassie right there. See how she's not moving? Now this is supposed to be a few moments after she gets popped.
My man George Davis say you was just a record. Can I get you to give him a shout out, please? I'm through Diddy. You don't remember me from Twitter. I'm Gabriel's Beyonce. What's up? What's up? Yes, Uncle Diddy. Yeah. Hey, Dirty Money Girl, say what up.
And there's Cassie. And they talking about Dirty Money. No one mentions Cassie's name. She's just there. And she's not moving, y'all. So I don't know. You know, she says that she got punched in the face and other stuff too.
John, when you go solo, I want to do you gotta do it like Beyonce. You gotta do it like Beyonce and kill it. You gotta kill it. I'm ready. I'm ready for that album though. Dirty Money, John. John, you remember Circuit City?
You see how Cassie just sitting there? She's probably got drugs. I want to see her face.
How you been? I'm good, man. So when the album come out, Last Train to Paris. Last Train to Paris, dog.
And can you believe this? That
Must be well.
by this time she's been working with Diddy for years. She's supposed to be working on her album. He's working on everybody else's album. So he ain't working on hers. Now I don't know who this guy is. If y'all know who he is, let me know.
P20 TV, shout it out. P20 TV. Okay.
Uncle Sean. It's Uncle Sean.
Shout out to Chilling with Moni. He had this footage. So this is what she was talking about when she was testifying. So let's get back to the information at hand. Oh Lord, I think we done lost my spot, child. Yeah, here we go. I think that helps when you just so then when you get down, you'll find it out. Okay. Uh-oh. All right, here we go. So now we have Carrie Morgan that's going to be on the stand. So the prosecution says, Carrie Morgan, where do you live? And she says, Los Angeles. And so they show her a photo. She says, who is this? Carrie Morgan, this is Cassie Ventura. She says, what was your relationship? Carrie, we were best friends. Her boyfriend assaulted me. It's not funny, ha ha. It's like, wow, she just really went in there. Hey, Andre. Okay. Because I know you said you had some questions. Hey, Andre. Prosecution. Do you see him here? Carrie. Yes. There in the yellow sweater. Prosecution. Let the record reflect that the witness has identified defendant Sean Combs. Prosecution. Why are you here? Carrie. I got a subpoena. Prosecution. Where did you live with Cassie? Carrie. In Manhattan. Did Cassie drink? Carrie. Not much. Any drugs? None. What was she doing for work? Modeling. Then she recorded Me and You. Prosecution. When did you learn that they were dating? Carrie. 2007. Prosecution. Did you travel with Cassie and Mr. Combs? Carrie. Yes. Ibiza and Miami. Prosecution. What drugs did Mr. Combs provide? Carrie. Molly, marijuana, and ecstasy. So, prosecution. Which did Mr. Combs take? Carrie said all of them. Did you take drugs along with Cassie? Morgan. Opiates. How did Mr. Combs act? Morgan. He would yell at Cassie. She lost her confidence big time. Lost her spark. Did Mr. Combs talk down to Cassie? Yes, about her looks. Who she talked to. Did he contact you looking for her? A lot. Carrie. Sometimes he would call 50 times in a row. Prosecution. What other calls you get from him? Morgan. Yes. Christina Coram. Prosecution. Did you witness assaults? Morgan. Yes. First in the Hollywood Hills. Ruben, one of his security guards, were there. What did Mr. Combs do to Cassie? Carrie. He kicked her. What did she do? Nothing. I told Ruben to do something. He indicated he wouldn't. Then what? We left the house. Cassie and I were hiding by someone's front steps. And the next time, Carrie says, in Jamaica, I saw him drag her by her hair. I ran back to get my purse and phone so we could leave. What did you do next? Carrie, I thought she was knocked out. Then she got up and ran into a wooded area. Damn. What happened next? And they're in Jamaica. They're in a let me read this last couple of things and I'll go over what I think. What happened? Because she went out into the wooded area. What happened next? Carrie, there were 2 golf carts in the driveway. I got in one and Sean got into the other. We went in different directions looking for Cassie. Did you find her? Yes. Then we hid in a ditch. Prosecution. What about the incident at Comstock apartment? Carrie, Cassie came back with a hoodie covering her face. Then Sean came and tried to get in, hitting the door with a hammer. I called D-Rock. Did he get in? No. Then the police came. Prosecution, what happened? Carrie, Cassie wouldn't show them her ID. Nothing happened. They left a card. Read this message. Did you send an attachment? Morgan, yes. A photo of the card the detective left. Prosecution, did Mr. Combs ever assault you? Carrie Morgan, yes. He hit me with a wood coat hanger and choked me. Oh, the choking part. Oh. Where did the hanger hit you? She said, behind my right ear. Prosecution, what did he express concern about? Who Cassie was cheating on him with. Prosecution, who did you speak to about it? Ryan, Sean's old assistant. What did he do? She shrugs, nothing. I have not spoken with Cassie since. So then they had a break. So this is where I'll go right here, and then we'll continue on. So far, because like it's so early in the case right now, because the prosecution is they already have built, in my opinion, they have proven that they transport what do I call them? Let me try to find it. Here we go. Give me one moment. So they have to prove they got 1 count of racketeering. They've got 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And then they have 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. So they've got the transportation to engage in prostitution. However, I did learn that, it's not illegal to pay for an escort. Because the jobs of escorts are technically to, you're supposed to go to games and all these other stuff. It's my understanding that they called companies and they paid for the escorts. Now, they said after a while that they didn't want to have to pay for these escort companies, so they were going to the back pages, or if they found an escort that they really liked, they paid him directly. So at that point, when they started paying the escort directly, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer. I just see it how I see it, just reading the thing. Once they had a deal brokered with this person and that they were going to come to the room and they were going to do the freak offs, that's paying for the prostitution. Now, Cassie testified that they had their faves. Jewels was one of their faves. There was somebody else that was one of their faves too. I can't remember what his name, but it went by a vulgar name, and I'm not going to say that. I don't. But anyway, they had their favorites, and they would fly them out. And that Audie guy, that Jake Audie or that John Audie, when it was testified that he was one of the people that was one of the faves, they fly him out. But apparently he had filmed some of the stuff and was blackmailing them with the information. So since they were being flied out, as the young people say, since they were flew out to Ibiza and the islands and Mexico and Europe and all these other different places, so they could be in place to have the freak offs. The transportation for that is, I think, is a count that they can definitely prove. I think he's gone on that. Now, with the racketeering, I don't know yet. They say they have to show proof. Now, what we haven't heard, so we're in the second week of trial. We're in the second week of testimony. See, we still hadn't heard from the people that burnt down Kid Cudi's car, and prosecution has to prove that they got the orders from Diddy to do that. So when they do that, that's one. Now let me go back and look up really quick, y'all. And for those of you all on YouTube, on Saturday mornings, I'm establishing a panel of different YouTubers. Some of them are from the news media. Some of us just are law heads. We just follow courts and things like that. We also are working on getting an attorney to join us, and I will be working on that. We just go over on the panel and go check out on my page. It's called Let's Talk, and it's Let's Talk about the Diddy trial. So definitely go and check that out. All right. So let me find it. So it says here, let me show it to you because I just pulled it up on Google, child. Hold on. Says to successfully prosecute a racketeering case, prosecutors must prove that the defendant engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity and that this activity was connected to an enterprise that affected interstate or foreign commerce. This involves demonstrating at least 2 instances of racketeering activity within a 10-year period, often referring to it as predicate offenses, and showing that the defendant was associated with the enterprise and participated in. So let's break down. It says existence of an enterprise. The prosecution must prove that the existence of an enterprise is a discrete entity like a criminal organization, corporation, or other group that operates as an enterprise. So they're looking at Bad Boy Records as the corporation. Interstate and foreign commerce. The enterprise must be engaged in or its activities must affect interstate or foreign commerce. It says association with the enterprise. The defendant must be employed by or associated with the enterprise. So they're going to be looking at, since Sean Combs is the person that runs and owns that Bad Boy Entertainment, and they're possibly looking at those people who worked for the people. If you can prove that one of those people working for this thing was doing something illegal, that's one thing. It says participation in enterprise affairs. The defendant's act of racketeering must have been conducted or participated in to further the affairs of the enterprise. The Racketeering Act may be found to be related to the activities of alleged enterprise. So let's see. Is racketeering hard to prove? Yes. And so it ranges up to 20 years. And I want to go back because there was like a list. It's like every time you ask Google something, they don't ever give you the same information. Let's see. Because it laid out, it's like bribery, drug trafficking, threatening to release stolen data or disrupt systems. It was a whole lot of different things too. It was like arson and something else too. It was a whole lot of stuff. So racketeering activities include act or threat of murder, kidnapping, gambling, arson, robbery, bribery, extortion, dealing in controlled substances, and additional serious crimes punishable by imprisonment for more than a year. So I don't know. They haven't really. I think that they've done the transportation. And I think that those two charges are 5 years, so that's 10 years. The sex trafficking, we got to talk to more witnesses because what they showed with Cassie was that she was, she was an employee. I mean, because her arranging and doing what she needed to do for the freak offs, she did them. She did do them. She did testify that she did do those things. There was a time that she did not want to do them. And then this is when the violence would pursue. I'm a little iffy on this too, because like I said, that arson and then the bribery. So if we get, because they only need to prove 2. So if they get somebody from that, if they can find the people who was given that money at the Intercontinental Hotel, and if they can show the people who burnt up Kid Cudi's car, then that's a wrap for him. Hold on. That is a wrap for him. I do want to share something. So I remember telling you all that there was an attorney that came on here and she was talking about hold on. Got it. All right, so let me share this. Because I remember seeing this when Cassie filed her stuff, because it was a big question about, oh, they paid her off so quickly. And so this is the way I believe that, because on the stand, we found out that the Intercontinental Hotel paid Cassie $10 million just recently. But this is why. Hold on.
To settle. It's not his choice no more.
So it's no longer
We were founded on a very...
Her attorneys were really brilliant. They didn't sue just Diddy. They sued his corporations.
They sure did.
And they sued his corporations and sued as her, in her capacity as an employee. When you do that, it triggers commercial liability insurance.
Yeah.
And it triggers another policy called directors and officers. Okay. And we know he's a director of these companies as the CEO. So now you got 2 policies. What happens then is it takes away Puffy's ability to settle. It's not his choice no more.
So it's no longer personal accountability. It's his organization.
It's his organization. And it's no different than like if you hit somebody with your car. Let's say you have State Farm. State Farm gets to decide to settle, not you. You could say, I didn't run the stop sign. That's not true. They're lying. If State Farm says, we don't care, we did our investigation, we're settling. That's it. That's what happened here. So because they added those claims, the corporate insurance carrier got to say, read over it and say, oh, hell no, we giving her the money.
We're hearing you. Diddy's public reputation is done.
It's done.
Yeah.
And if he wants to be able to leave anything to his children, he needs to walk away from all of these corporations.
Damn, he can no longer be the head of his corporations.
Well, remember, didn't I say directors and officers liability?
Yeah.
More than likely, what will happen is those insurance companies, they have the ability to say, we won't renew your policy if he continues to be a director or officer. Her attorneys were really brilliant. They didn't sue just Diddy. They sued his corporation.
They sure did.
And they sued his corporation.
So that I think that is how I think that is how she got her money so quickly. Because the corporation was like, you got to get up out of here. You got to get up out of here. We can't be fooled with you no more. We can't fool with you no more because you are such a big liability. And so, yeah, it clears up a lot because now I'm thinking, oh, okay. All right. Because now we see why he has stepped down from, remember he was on the board of like Complex and Bad Boy and Love Records. And so he was on, and then he stepped away from all of that. Now he says that Ciroc and him, they were having some problems. You see how he doesn't even talk about that or do anything about that anymore because of the fact that his reputation is done. His reputation is done. And his reputation took the worst hit when that tape got out. Because when that tape got out, everybody, because he denied until it was thrown in his face. But anyway, getting back to the RICO charge, like I said, if they can show that he bribed somebody from the Intercontinental Hotel about that tape disappearing, paying them whatever money that he paid them, and if they can show that he ordered the hit on Kid Cudi's car, that's 2. And if they can show that this is a pattern, you're doing all of this and spending money from your enterprises or something like that, if they can show those things in the prosecution. But like I said, I'm more concerned about the sex trafficking. I don't know if they have right now proven the sex trafficking. I don't think that they've had enough people in here for the sex trafficking. Hey, Sam. So let's continue. So the jury is out for lunch. No, it says with the jury out for lunch, the arguments continue. The judge, what's your best citation to try to get this evidence in? Prosecution. And they list all these citations. Judge, I'll look at them and we'll come back. Combs' defense. I haven't seen this before. Judge, you all need to get something to eat. And so they're back from lunch. So that's about an hour. So let's go to CNN real quick. And then we're going to catch up. All right. Dawn Richards testified about another occasion when she said she saw Sean Diddy Combs punch Cassie Ventura, this time in the stomach while at a restaurant. Several people from the record label were present in the room at the dinner, and Combs and Ventura had been arguing quietly, Richard said. After Ventura bent over, reacting to the punch, Combs directed her to leave, Richard said. Richard says. After leaving the restaurant, Richard testified, Combs and Ventura were arguing in the car. Ventura was embarrassed and told Combs he shouldn't have done that in public. He grabbed her by the neck and popped her, slapped her in the mouth, and told her to shut up. Security personnel who were present in the car didn't do anything, and the rest of the car ride was quiet. Richard later testified in cross-examination that R&B singers Usher, Ne-Yo, and Beats Electronics co-founder Jimmy Levine was among the celebrities who were at the restaurant that day. Y'all think we're going to hear from Usher and Ne-Yo? Y'all think we're going to hear from them? Because Jimmy Levine has his own case. He's got a weird case too. Richard testified that Combs said Ventura's career depended on him. Richard testified that she heard Sean Diddy Combs discuss Ventura's career with her. During those conversations, Combs would sometimes turn violent towards Ventura, but he usually say Ventura's career would progress on his timeline. It would be on his time. Because remember, she's in a 10-album deal. And she testified that she couldn't really work on her work, the album, which was her true job, because she had to do these freak offs. Richard testified that he said, "I own you. When I'm ready for you, you'll do," Richard said. And it was always wait for her. She had to wait her turn. And you remember I said earlier, now isn't that something, you getting popped in the eye and you have to see other people get their career moving forward, and you're sitting there in this 10-album deal getting beat up on, freaked out, UTIs, sores in your mouth, having to, shaving your head here, shaving your head here, getting beat up so bad that you've got to stay in a hotel for weeks at a time. No one can allow you to leave. Danity Kane member says she stopped commenting on Combs and Ventura's relationship for her own safety. Dawn Richard, a former member of the musical group Danity Kane, said that after she witnessed Combs' violent behavior, she told Cassie she should leave. Cass looked torn, like she would listen, but I could see the fear. Richard said that started to say before being cut off by defense objection, which was sustained by the judge. Richard testified that when Combs found out about these conversations, he told her to stay out of their relationship. He told her she was here to work. He would also tell her to stop or else we would pay for it. So he was threatening them. Richard said she made a decision to stay out of the relationship between Combs and Ventura for her own safety. Quote, "I made a decision that it would be best for the safety of myself to not interfere because I don't think that she was really ready to do anything," she said. She says she often saw Combs taking drugs and carrying guns. Dawn Richard testified that she often saw Sean Diddy Combs taking drugs, including weed, ketamine, and cocaine. She says she did not see him take opiates, she testified. The drugs were delivered to the studio by a man that was once called One Stop, and Combs kept the drugs in a Louis Vuitton toiletry bag that went everywhere from domestic to overseas, she said. Richard also saw Combs frequently carrying a handgun, she testified. He typically placed the gun on his lower back, she said. 2 of his bodyguards also carry handguns in the same place, she testified. Later Monday on cross-examination, Richard testified that she had seen Combs' assistant giving money to One Stop in exchange for drugs. Defense attorney Nicole Westmoreland pointed to a previous meeting Richard had with the prosecutors, in which Westmoreland said that Richard said she'd never seen anyone give payment to One Stop. So her direct testimony is over. We're going into Richard testified that she didn't immediately talk about the alleged abuse that she witnessed because Sean Diddy Combs and Harvey Pierre, the former president of Bad Boy Records, told her not to. When asked what made her speak out, she pointed to Cassie. I saw Cassie finally take a stand and tell the truth. Richard said she left Bad Boy Records in 2011 and would periodically hear from Combs at any time her career got momentum. If she didn't pick up the FaceTime call, other people in Combs' circle would call her repeatedly until she picked up, she said. The former Danity Kane member says she also filed a lawsuit, which is still pending. And so they go in about, so let's read this. It says Don Richard has insight into Cassie Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs' relationship from both a professional and personal standpoint, making her a reliable witness. I think she's going to make this a home run in terms of her testimony and how this relates not only to Cassie, but to the other charges that are encapsulated in the RICO count, Bonner said. In my legal opinion, I think she's a very credible witness. Let's see. Can we open that in a new link? Because with the RICO, you know, they prosecuted R. Kelly, Young Thug, and, you know, they were prosecuting former Donald Trump under that, but Fannie Willis and her being hot in the tail got that case moved. Rashada Furman family, Danny Kane is, well, anyway, says, but it's important to remember that this is not a federal domestic violence case. Joey Jackson, criminal defense attorney and legal analyst, told Brown, this is a federal racketeering case. So to the extent that which furthers the interests of the government with regard to core sexual activity or its knowledge and understanding of prostitution, that's relevant and important, he explained. He pled not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. So she gave testimony for the she gave testimony about the beatings, but she didn't give any testimony about the freak offs or anything like that. And notice she didn't even give any testimony about her being locked in the car. Because you remember we read that earlier. She gave no testimony in regards to her being locked in that car. I want to hear from Kalina Harper. All right, so let's see what they have. All right, so we got Carrie Morgan. I'm sorry, y'all. So this is Carrie Morgan coming into court to testify. Carrie Morgan said that she was best friends with Cassie between 2001 to 2018, but they currently don't speak. She said that they stopped being friends in 2018 because her boyfriend assaulted her, specifying that the boyfriend was Sean Diddy Combs. Carrie Morgan said that she first met Ventura on a modeling shoot when she was 16 and Ventura was 15 around 2001. They started living together in 2004 in New York City. In the first few years of their friendship, Ventura didn't drink much alcohol and didn't use any drugs. Morgan, now 39, currently works as a personal assistant in California. Carrie Morgan says she traveled with Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie to several U.S. cities and other countries like Spain and Italy, getting to know the music mogul very well. They would all take drugs, usually provided by Combs. Combs was nice and extremely generous, but also sort of intimidating and had a strong presence, Morgan said. As she got to know him, Morgan testified that she learned Combs had mood swings. He would get aggressive and upset, often yelling at Ventura, she said. Carrie Morgan testified that Cassie Ventura was very confident when they first met, but then she lost her confidence over the course of their friendship from the early 2000s to 2018. Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs dated for around 2007 to 2018, according to previous testimony. And also, Dawn said some of the same thing. It said like you could see the light go out of her eyes. Morgan heard Combs criticize Ventura's appearance. Now, there is a rapper named Young Jock. And I think when this all kind of jumped off, or it could have been before then, he was doing an interview. And I want to say he was doing one of those interviews with Vlad, AKA the FBI informant. And I don't know if he's an informant. I just said that. I'm sorry. Jock mentioned that they were at some kind of party or something like that. And Sean said something to Cassie about, you need to shave your head. Yeah, you're going to shave your head. And he said the next time he saw the girl, she had shaved his head. And he was just talking about how influential she was. But now you start to look back and like, oh, just from this testimony about him, about her appearance and stuff like that, because someone mentioned somewhere, and I don't know who testified to this, or if it was something that a pundit said, that he told her that she was looking too Mexican. But we'll continue. Combs would call Ventura repeatedly until she answered him, Morgan said. Sometimes he called 50 times in a row. And that's what I cannot understand. Because if I tried 3 times, that's it for me. Because it's like you're not picking up because you don't want to pick up. You calling that extra 47 times is still not going to make me pick up. Because there's a thing I can cut my ringer off. There were also times that Combs or his employees would contact Morgan in an attempt to reach Ventura. So again, this kind of gives credence to what Cassie said about whenever she'd go somewhere or do something, he was so jealous that he wanted to know where she was at. If she didn't pick up for him, he'd have all his employees call her until she picked up. And so he's doing that even with her friends. So I can imagine that he does that with everybody. Just aggravating. Carrie Morgan testified that she saw Sean Diddy Combs assault Cassie on 2 occasions, adding that Combs hit Ventura, pulled her hair, kicked her, and pushed her. Morgan testified Combs was not intoxicated or high on drugs at this time. That's an interesting statement because the defense have been saying all the times that he would be violent because he was detoxing. But she's saying that he wasn't high or intoxicated at these points in time. Carrie Morgan one of the occasions Morgan said that she was at Combs' Los Angeles home with Combs, Ventura, and one of Combs' security guards. I saw him push her. I'm pretty sure he hit her, Morgan said. They were on the other side of a bed, so I'm not sure if he kicked her or something. She said Ventura didn't do anything in response. Morgan said that she asked one of Combs' security guards to intervene, but he responded that he wasn't going to do anything. So you see a level of violence that is criminal, because assault, kicking and punching and all those things, that's assault, that's battery. You see this level of violence and you do not intervene. And you don't intervene. Why? Because you were employed by Sean Diddy Combs? The second time Carrie Morgan said she saw Sean Diddy Combs assault Cassie Ventura was in Jamaica around 2013. I wonder Was that the time that he had that party and the guy from So Def, the one that went with Janet Jackson, he was at that was that a birthday party? Because something came out last Friday about a birthday party. And I don't know if that was in Jamaica where this party was. I just remember I saw I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. But anyway, he was the owner of So Def Records in Atlanta. Y'all write it down in the comments for me because his name is escaping me. Jermaine Dupri. The second time, okay. Jamaica bound to, okay. Combs left the room after telling Morgan that Ventura was taking too long in the bathroom, she said. I heard Cassie screaming, so I ran into the hallway where she was. Morgan said, describing the screams as guttural. Morgan said she saw Combs dragging Ventura by her hair down the hallway for about 10 feet before she ran to get her purse. When she came back, they were outside. When Morgan went outside, she saw how Ventura hit her head after Combs pushed her to the ground, she testified. Ventura then stayed in a loose fetal position with her eyes closed. I thought she was knocked out, she testified. Ventura ran barefoot into the woods when Morgan said she was yelling at Combs. She and Combs went to look for her separately, Morgan testified. After Morgan found Ventura, the friends hid in a ditch for what felt like hours before eventually going back to the house. She said Ventura had a really big bump on her forehead. She said she never saw any injuries on Combs. Let me make sure. Okay, it says here, after the hotel assault, Combs went to Ventura's apartment and banged on the door with a hammer. Carrie Morgan is now addressing the aftermath of the March 2016 incident in which surveillance cameras captured Sean Diddy Combs dragging and kicking Ventura into the Intercontinental Hotel. Okay. Morgan recalled the day Ventura came home to her apartment after the incident. Morgan had been staying with her ahead of a movie premiere. You remember? Ventura had a black eye, Morgan said. About 30 minutes after Ventura came home, Combs arrived, yelling and banging on the door with a hammer, Morgan testified. Morgan was freaking out, and she called Combs' security guard and assistants, hoping they'd get him to stop, she testified. Ventura just sat on the couch, unmoved, Morgan recalled. I don't think she cared if he came over and killed her. Wow. Eventually, Combs left, never gaining access to the apartment, Morgan testified. Police arrived at some point after that, but Morgan can't remember who called them. Probably a neighbor. Ventura wouldn't cooperate with the officers, and they left after Ventura refused to identify herself or speak. Morgan said she encouraged Ventura to call the police after the hotel altercation. The jury saw messages Carrie Morgan and Christine Coram, one of Sean Diddy Combs' assistants, exchanged after the police came following the incident at the Intercontinental. Morgan sent Coram a photo of the detective's business card and wrote that the officer was looking for anyone to say the wrong thing so she can call domestic abuse. The messages were read out loud. Cass just asked me to send you that, Morgan said in the message. Morgan testified that she encouraged Cassie to speak with the police that day. She said that she never called law enforcement when Combs was violent because Ventura did not want her to. Carrie Morgan said Cassie Ventura that she couldn't leave Sean because he controlled everything. So y'all have to remember by that time, because remember early in her testimony, she said, you know, I had money, so I had an apartment at Studio City and I would come and see him. But after some point in time, because remember, they only worked on one album. And so she wasn't getting any money. She was getting money that he was giving her, you know, to get her stuff done, to eat and do all that, to be flashy. But she wasn't getting a quote unquote income. Now, She was doing some songs and she was doing some movie gigs, so she was getting some money from there. I acquiesce to that. But let's continue. But I see some of you all got so much power and you use it for wrong and evil, right? When I saw that video, I was angry. Yeah. It was a hard watch. And then it was because he so vehemently was saying that, oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't touch her. I wouldn't do any of those things. But yet the video comes out. And I do think that the security guard from the Intercontinental Hotel, I think he was the one that leaked it to CNN. Because they didn't even encounter the fact that he had taped it. I don't think Diddy's team had encountered that he had done that. Morgan said she would tell her to do what she wanted and also advised her to leave Combs. But Ventura said she couldn't do it, Morgan testified. When the prosecution asked why Ventura would say that, Morgan said that it was because of her job, her car, her apartment. He controlled everything. She would have lost all of her livelihood. Aside from her, Morgan said most of their friends were employed by or associated with Combs, and she could see their influence on Ventura. After Ventura would hang out with them, she wouldn't want to leave Combs, Morgan said. You can tell that they were convincing her. Because all these people's livelihoods was in the hands of Diddy. Carrie Morgan testified that Sean Combs assaulted her in Cassie Ventura's apartment. I don't think we got to this yet. Let me check. Hold on. Okay, so we still have some testimony to go over. So let's do that. So then we can read that blurb. They're back from brief lunch. Judge, if I let this in, Miss Ventura could be recalled as a witness. Prosecution, I doubt that we could call her. Judge, the defense could call her back to the stand. I doubt that she'd be available. Judge, the evidence is out. Judge, I anticipate Mr. David James will be the next witness. How is he relevant? Prosecution, as to the means and methods of the enterprise, Mr. Combs threatening to assault employees. While waiting for the jury to come back in, here's the court art of Combs' second Georgia lawyer, Nicole Westmoreland, as she cross-examined Dawn Richards this morning, courtesy to Inner City Press by artist Elizabeth Wemyss. Maybe the cover of week 2's trial book. Okay. All right. Prosecution had no more questions for Carrie Cross. Agnifila, you were Miss Ventura's best friend since 2004. Carrie Morgan, actually 2001. We met while waiting for the Polaroids to develop. I was living in Buffalo. She was in Connecticut. So she's a Connecticut girl. Gotcha. Agnifilo, you were both in NYC. Carrie, I stayed downtown. She moved to Harlem. Agnifilo, have you ever met Kim Porter? Morgan, yes, probably at a concert. Agnifilo, was Cassie ever jealous? Morgan, yes. Agnifilo, and the other way? Cassie was speaking with Michael B. Jordan and Sean got jealous. She was trying to leave him. That daggone Michael B. Jordan name that come up 3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks in a row. Okay. she was trying to leave him. So she was actively in a relationship. She was actively trying to leave Diddy. So she was going to tilt over to Michael B. Jordan. Were you both using drugs? Morgan, no. We were in South Africa. Agnifila, did you learn about Gina? Yes. Kerry Morgan, he was having a full-on relationship with this little girl. Why she call her little girl? Why did you call her that? She acts like that. She's younger than us. Okay, so there's 17 years difference between Diddy and Cassie. How many years is it between Diddy and Gina? Defense, Agnifilo. When you say Sean came and hammered on the door, why did the police come? Morgan, they said because of the noise. Agnifilo, what did they say to you? Morgan, Cassie was visibly injured, but she didn't say anything. Agnifilo, you two were best friends for 18 years, but now you haven't spoken with her since 2018? Morgan, that's true. Agnifilo, at the danger of being Captain Obvious, that's a long time. There was an objection. Agnifilo, why haven't you spoken to her? Morgan, she did not support me after Sean assaulted me. I try that line at assault. Agnifilo, you reached a settlement with Miss Ventura? Morgan, the money came from Mr. Combs, so they paid her. So she shows her a photo, Combs. Do you know if Louise Hayes is a self-help author about self-affirmation? She said, yes. Why did you send him this with words of encouragement? She says, I don't remember sending it. Okay. Agnifilo, I want to show you a few more photos, but first let's talk about the incidents when he put his hands on your neck. Were you and Cassie using drugs at the time? Morgan, no. Agnifilo, what did he say? He said, who is she cheating with? Oh, we have caught up, y'all. We have caught up. Oh, I hate that we caught up. So let's get back to right here to what Morgan says. Kerry Morgan testified that Sean Combs assaulted her in Cassie Ventura's apartment in 2018. Combs let himself into the apartment while Ventura was in the bathroom, Morgan said. He came up behind me and choked me and then boomeranged a wooden hanger at my head, Morgan testified, adding that she had finger marks on her neck. Morgan said she gathered her belongings and left, telling an assistant he's going crazy, like he's lost it. The assistant shrugged, she said. I don't think he knew what he could do about it, Morgan said of the assistant. Morgan testified that she was planning on filing a lawsuit after the 2018 assault, but didn't. She said that she met at Ventura about a month after the incident, and Ventura told her she would be receiving $30,000 from Combs. At this meeting, Ventura told Morgan that she was over-exaggerating. Morgan testified. Morgan said that she signed a non-disclosure agreement that day and testified that she had spoken with Ventura since. She testified that she received the money. All right, we are all cut. Oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. All right. Judge is back on the bench. Lunch break has ended. The prosecution has said that no. Okay, so this is where the defense. Okay. So it says here, so this is just like an overview. Richard testified that after the, well, let's go up here because we want to be caught up. Hold on. So this is, all right. Carrie Morgan testified that she would see Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura often. If we were in the same time, we probably would be hanging out, she said. Defense attorney Mark Agnefield asked her to give a ballpark of how many times they saw each other in 2008. Morgan said probably a couple of times a month, but added that she had a boyfriend at the time, so it was probably seeing them less frequently as usual. Agnefield asked Morgan if Ventura was jealous of Kim Porter, the mother of several of Combs' children. Morgan acknowledged that it was an ongoing issue. When asked to be more specific, Morgan recalls she was jealous because she could never go to the New Year's Eve party. Carrie Morgan testified that the police came to Cassie Ventura's apartment after the March 2016 incident at the Intercontinental Hotel because of the banging on the door. She said at the time, Ventura had a black eye and was wearing a hoodie. Defense attorney asked if the police said anything that would lead her to believe that they saw the energy. Yes. They asked what happened, Morgan said, adding that Ventura didn't say anything in response. Morgan said she didn't remember if she told police about Sean hammering on the door. And they're just repeating this. It says, So they're all saying that these witnesses come off very credible, but again, they're not talking about the so surely they don't have any knowledge about the freak-offs. They have a lot of knowledge about the down. So it looks like what the prosecution is doing is going over that Diddy has these certain sexual proclivities, and then he wants what he wants when he wants. That was last week. This week, got you. And so Cassie them is like 38, 39. Okay. Okay. Thank you, William. Thank you. Okay. So last week, the prosecution spent a lot of time talking about the freak-offs and the sexual proclivities and how that worked, how they acquired the escorts, how they acquired the contents of the hotel rooms or wherever they were. They talked about how they lasted, what happened afterward. They kind of went into that. So that last week was the SEX, and last week with Cassie and also with the sex worker, they kind of corroborated how the payments came about. They kind of corroborated, as Tina says, it was a tiered payment system. If you did certain things and reached certain tiers, then you got a certain amount, you got a certain level of money. The bottom level was $700, and then the top was $6,000. So you had to do all these little things in the tiers in order for you to get to $6,000. And then there was just a lucky few who they could call and come in to do what they needed to do. So that's what prosecution was setting up then, and also setting the fact that they were being transported to New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Ibiza, to do these same things or to participate within these freak-offs, and then they would pay the certain escorts that they had formed for the lack of a better word, a bond with it. So this week, it looks like they are focusing on the violence. It looks like they are focusing on his Diddy's temper, his obsessive behavior with the calling of the 15 times, his jealousy. So they are showing how even when those things, when he would explode and he would assault Cassie, and the assaults themselves was criminal, how no one in his organization stopped him, tried to pull him off. They all kind of shrugged it and let it go. And she also, I think, the former best friend established that it was anytime, any place. It was just to the point it didn't matter. Her and Dawn just established it was anytime, any place. It didn't matter where they were. If he wanted to pop her, I mean, to be in a whole nother country, displaying that kind of behavior. So I think they're slowly building up, because I am interested. I want them to go back to Kid Cudi, because I'm real interested about who blew up that car, why they blew up that car, and where they blew up that car. All right, let's continue. Okay, Ventura was jealous of another Combs girlfriend, Morgan says. Another woman, Gina, had a years-long relationship with Sean Diddy Combs that overlapped with his relationship with Cassie Ventura, and that was a big problem for Ventura, Morgan testified. He was having a full-on relationship with this person, and Cassie found out about it, and she wouldn't go away. He wouldn't leave her. So it just went on for a really long time. Morgan initially referred to this person as little girl, but when asked to clarify, Morgan said that Gina was an adult. Still, she remembered her to be much younger than Morgan and Ventura said. Ventura testified last week that she learned that Combs was spending time with Gina in April 2014. I was really upset, Ventura testified. She said Combs denied the relationship to an extent, but added that she and Combs argued multiple times about him getting back together with Gina. Morgan said Combs was jealous of Michael B. Jordan. Carrie Morgan testified Sean Diddy Combs was jealous when Cassie Ventura started talking to actor Michael B. Jordan. They were not together, and he was jealous about it, Morgan said. So they had another one of those breaks. Okay. And I think she was trying to leave him. Morgan said that she visited Ventura while she was shooting a movie in South Africa. Around that time, Combs and one of his assistants was also there during their trip. The assistant, who was referred to as Mia, had a lot of energy and the stamina to keep up with the demands of the job. She was pretty close with Cassie, close enough that she came with her to South Africa to help her out. So context, last week, Ventura testified that Mia and the other assistants witnessed Combs physically abusing her. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo asked Carrie Morgan to further explain why she broke off her friendship with Cassie Ventura in 2018 after 17 years. This question came after Morgan earlier Monday testified that she was no longer Ventura's friend because she alleges that Combs assaulted Morgan in Ventura's apartment in 2018. Morgan said, "The reason I stopped speaking with her is because she was not supportive of me after that incident." Maybe she was getting her head pushed between the washer and the dryer. How was she going to be supportive with you? Morgan again recounted her fallout with Ventura after the alleged 2018 assault. Agnifilo suggested that Carrie Ventura paid money in a meeting after the alleged incident, but Morgan maintained that her understanding was the money that came from Combs. She offered me money to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and that was essentially to close the case on this, and ensured Morgan didn't want to file a lawsuit or say something publicly. Ventura hasn't reached out to her since the fallout in 2018. Combs and Ventura loved each other, Morgan said. Carrie Morgan said Cassie Ventura's former best friend confirmed that she believed Sean Diddy Combs and Ventura loved each other. Morgan said that there were times when she thought that they should try to work things out. Morgan said Combs was asking about Ventura's infidelity before the 2018 assault. Carrie Morgan testified that when Sean Diddy Combs assaulted her in 2018, he was asking who Cassie Ventura was cheating on him with. Morgan said that she later learned Ventura was cheating on him, but at the moment she didn't know that. And so she's being cross-examined. We're caught up. All right, here we go. Agnifilo. You went to an urgent care and not the hospital? Carrie Morgan, right. But you don't. It was bloody and you went to the hospital? She says, I don't remember that. Agnes, look at this. And he showed us some material and didn't show the jury. Should I see that? So now we have the cross-examination. So I don't know exactly what this exchange was, but apparently she went to the urgent care after he popped her in the head with the hanger, and he choked her out. Prosecution. Do you remember Mr. Agnifilo asking you about the incident in LA? And then Agnifilo said objection. The judge says overrule. Prosecution. And he hit her like in Jamaica, arguing about jealousy. Don't understand that. So then they ask her what happened in Jamaica. She says that he dragged Carrie by her hair a 50-yard hallway. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They brought up Usher. If we go back, they brought up Usher because there was a party, a dinner party that they had gone to, and they're saying that Usher, Neo, and somebody else was at this particular dinner, and they saw him abuse Cassie. Yes, they brought up. So far they brought up Usher. They brought up Neo. They brought up Michael B. Jordan again, because every week they have brought up Michael B. Jordan. They brought up his name during Voudoir, and they brought up his name last week, and now they're bringing up his name this week. We need to know what he said to Michael B. Jordan. But they brought up Usher. But they hadn't brought up Usher under any kind of essay nature or anything like that. They just brought up Usher's name as a witness to a possible witness to the assault. Him and Neo. Was he talking about jealousy? Morgan, no. He said she spent too long in the bathroom. Prosecution, nothing further. Any recourse? They said no. So she's been excused from the witness stand, and we're going into the next witness. This next witness is David James. And he looks like a personal assistant. Hold on, y'all. I got something in my, I think it's an eyelash crawling in my eye. Prosecution, why are you here? David James, I've been subpoenaed. Prosecution, were you Combs' personal assistant? David James from 2007 to 2009. I was just trying to see if they had a picture of him. They don't have a picture of him, y'all. Let's continue. Who was in this photo? David James. That is David James. Why didn't he say that is me? But anyway, that's yourself? Yes. David James. I went to college in Michigan. Later, I faxed my resume to Bad Boy. Where was the interview? James, 1710 Broadway. Who met you? Tommy, his sister Keisha, and others. Okay. How did they test you? They gave me 40 appointments and asked me to make a schedule. You had to know, for example, what time a particular show on Hot 97 came on. What did Mr. Combs ask you, David James, to make a spreadsheet for Miami? David Jones. I said, I know his food and restaurant preferences. So there's something else that I'm missing. He asked me why'd I make a good decisions. I said, I can't stop, won't stop. I got the job. Did he have others? David James, Miss was it Robles and Mr. Barber and others. What would you do as an assistant, Mr. James? Bad boy to 5, then out to dinner, then to the studio to 3 a.m. We get a call time at the end of the night. So we've got some break time. So we'll just refresh it after a minute. All right. So here's what's going on CNN. Defense cross-examination of Kerry Morgan has ended. In a brief redirect, Assistant U.S. Attorney Meredith Foster asked Morgan to reiterate her account of the 2 times she says she clearly remembers seeing Sean Diddy Combs assault Cassie Ventura. When asked, Morgan said that the couple wasn't arguing about jealousy on either occasion. Prior to assaulting Ventura in Jamaica, Combs yelled at Ventura for taking too long in the bathroom, Morgan alleged. After the short redirect, Morgan left the stand. The next witness will be David James, a former assistant to Combs. James will be the 7th witness to testify in the trial. On his good days, he's cute. On his good days, he's cute. Sometimes he can look a little rough around the edges. You got to look at him at certain angles, but he's a handsome man. Don't get me wrong. What I want to do here, since we're on this break, All right. So this is I wanted to continue from Don Richard's lawsuit, talking about the time when they locked her in Diddy's Bentley, and the Bentley didn't have any handles on the inside, and they locked her in there for 2 hours in the cold. So we left out, this says here, Miss Richard's father drove to New York from Baltimore and arrived at the studio approximately 2 hours later. Only after her father arrived and demanded to see her did Mr. Pierre order Mr. Combs' bodyguard to release Miss Richard from the vehicle. Mr. Pierre ushered Miss Richard's father between several rooms at the studios, at SIR Studios, where he waited for approximately 2 hours before being able to confront Mr. Combs. Once Miss Richard's father expressed that he intended to contact the police, Mr. Combs warned him, "Think about your family and think about your daughter's career." Her father appeared visibly frightened by Mr. Combs' threats and actions, which in turn made Miss Richard feel terrified for herself and her family. The next night, Diddy and Dirty Money performed on Saturday Night Live. It boggles my mind that all this stuff is going on behind the scenes, and then they just have the whatever it is to get up and to go perform on SNL and stuff like that. Mr. Combs subsequently called Miss Richards, complimented her performance, and concluded with a threat: "You don't call your dad unless you're in the hospital." And then they talk about some breach of contract. But since I got y'all's attention on since we're talking about this, so this happened in 2015. So there was a BET party in 2015, and this is supposed to be around the time that Cassie and Diddy were on a break, and she was trying to talk to Michael B. Jordan. So let me I'm gonna share my screen. And we're going to go over this. So let's see. Let's press. Oh, Lord, we got to.
Mom talk.
Hold on, y'all. So this was published on June 29th, 2015. So I don't know exactly when her and Michael B. Jordan did whatever they did, but hold on. Here we go.
How you doing, Michael? What's going on, brother? How was the awards, man? Nice. You guys have friends. Thanks. Don't even matter. It don't matter, dude. What they tell you, Michael? It's good.
So he said it doesn't matter because they told him he couldn't come in. He couldn't come in. And so he's a consummate professional. So let's see what he said. Let's go back just a tinge. Just a tinge. Because you see the ladies standing outside? They're waiting to get in.
It don't even matter. It don't matter, dude.
Hold on. Let's see what they're talking about.
It don't even matter. It don't matter, dude. What'd they tell you, Michael?
Let's go.
Why wouldn't they let you in?
What? They have capacity, you feel me?
They're
Happens.
wow, that's nuts.
They're at capacity. Now, did y'all look in there? Was y'all looking through the windows like I was looking through the windows? It didn't look full to me.
Puff sent me outside to get you. Puff sent me outside to get you. I ain't see that. He's smiling.
Yeah, have fun. They're not gonna let him in. What is going on, man?
It's drama in LA, bro.
I know it's crazy. I thought Puff's in for you.
Oh.
He did. He's at the door. Uh-oh. The owner's in trouble. They just took off. They just left. They're in the car.
Because they let all the girls in.
I'm not greenhorning. I'm not greenhorning. He's greenhorning.
There you go, Sam. And then you want to know what's so crazy about this, all y'all crazy about this? Because then a few years later, Diddy was going with Lori Harvey. And then when him and Lori Harvey broke up, guess who started going with Lori Harvey? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. Whew. I'm just too tickled. I am so tickled because Hollywood is a very fickle place. And I am too tickled. You hear me? I am too tickled. A mess. An absolute mess. Let's continue. Let's see if they have we get some more tweets. I think we do. So let's go ahead and let me share this tab. It says prosecution to David James. Did you travel with Mr. Combs as well? David James, yes. Prosecution. Who were the security staff? David James, D-Rock, Bonds, and Uncle Paulie. Prosecution. You worked 20-hour days? James. Yes. Security did too. Chat. 20-hour days? That's only 4 hours of sleep. Unless you were taking naps in between the thing, but still, 20-hour days. Prosecution. What did security staff tell you? David James, to stay in my lane. Prosecution. Who said that? David James, Bond, and Uncle Paulie. Prosecution. Focusing on his personal chef. Who is she? Who is she? David James, Chef Jordan Axelson. Okay, let's look this person up. Oh man. I don't want to do, let's go back. Let's see, because I was trying to pull what she looks like. So let me share this. This is Chef Jordan Atkinson. This is the chef who they said that he had an altercation with. Let's see what she's talking about. So she has a YouTube page. Looks like she has a podcast. Let's hear her talk about food. Now this video is, y'all don't even see the video. Lord have mercy. I'm so sorry, y'all.
What's up, chefies? I know it's been a long time. Y'all haven't seen me. You know, sometimes you go through things, you fall out of the routine of doing stuff. I'm working on launching my actual website, which will be launching on August 1st. So be on the lookout for that. And
so this was 5 years ago. So this was like 20, what is it, 2025? 2020?
I will be getting back into the routine of at least doing this once a week, or see, I have a tripod now, but it just moved my camera. But either one.
Okay, we're not going to spend too much time on her. I was going to go back to see if she made any mention about working with Diddy. So her YouTube page stops at 6 years ago. So I don't see. Yeah, it stops at 6 years ago. So she's not talking about Diddy or anything like that. I just thought she would. All right. Did Mr. Combs have girlfriends then? David James, Sarah Porter, Kim Porter, Sarah, Tara, Yana, and Cassie. I'm not laughing at it's funny, but I'm just, it's Cassie, it was, bless her heart, was believing that she was number two when it looks like he called Kim Porter someone named Sarah, because isn't that one of his, isn't that his, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. Because Kim Porter had twins, and then someone had Chance. Was that Sarah? I'm not going to speak on that. I don't know. So you got Kim Porter, Sarah, Tara, Yana, and Cassie. He says, what was your first conversation with Cassie? David James. We were on Star Island. Carrie Morgan was there too. Cassie said, this lifestyle is crazy. David James, I asked her, why don't you leave? She said, Sean controls my life, my music. He pays for my apartment. Prosecution, next conversation. David James, it was about her music, but the album never came out. Because she was in that 10-album deal. Because as far as what he's saying, according to Mr. James, Cassie Cassie was way down the list as far as being important to him. Anyway. Next conversation. It was about her music, but the album never came out. Prosecution. Did you overhear a conversation? David James. Yes. David James. Mr. Combs said, Kim is my queen. Out in LA with my family, he said. I have Cassie right here where I want her. She's young and moldable. So according to David James, he was very much aware that, Your Honor, how much longer do you want? This would be a good place to break. Judge, we'll break for the day? So this is Sheriff Sarah Chapman. So hold on. So they really took a break for the day. Let's see what CNN's is talking about. Yeah, they dismissed for the day, y'all. Just 3 something now. Okay, let's see. So let's read what they say. Combs' assistant describes what's working for the rapper was like. David James, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, asked how long do we have when he was asked to describe his role working with as an assistant for Combs. James said that he was with Combs every day. He was working and traveled around the world with him. James said his job was to make sure Combs was able to operate as a chairman of company and to get every environment comfortable. James said that he sometimes worked 3 weeks straight without a day off. As Combs hired more personal staff, he could work 5 days a week, James said. James said that he would arrive at Combs' house before he woke up and coordinate with the chef to make sure breakfast was getting started. He would compile documents for Combs, including business decisions he needed to approve, his daily schedule, and news stories about Combs. And remember, I told you, one thing about Diddy, he hired plenty of assistants. And these assistants had to be competent enough. According to, remember I talked about, because I didn't know her name then, I know her name now is Capricorn Jones, that they had to be competent enough that if there was a deal to be negotiated, they could be able to negotiate that deal and then send it back to Mr. Combs to be signed. That stuck out to me, that she was talking about how competent they had to be. James said he was sometimes He would After Combs woke up and ate breakfast, they would go to the studio and then back to Combs' house or another destination, James testified. This is Mr. Combs' kingdom, former assistant says. HR executive at Combs Company told him. David James, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, said he sought the job after reading an article in the New York Times saying the chairman of Bad Boy Entertainment was looking for an assistant. He applied multiple times, sending his resume via fax, email, and dropping it off in person, James testified. He met several people at the company when he was interviewed for the job, including a senior vice president of human resources. During their meeting, the executive pointed at a picture of Combs on the wall, and James said he told him, "This is Mr. Combs' kingdom. We're all in it. We're all here to serve in it." Combs' assistant on his security staff. I knew not to mess with them. David James, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, testified that Combs' security staffers often told him to stay in his lane, especially if he was asking too many questions. Prosecutors are continuing to focus on Sean Diddy Combs' control over Cassie Ventura as they aim to solidify sex trafficking charges against him. Mercedes Colwin, legal analyst and trial attorney, told CNN, "It all goes back to this sex trafficking, and we already heard from Cassie Ventura that she was a recording artist that had signed a contract with Combs and then ultimately became an ex-worker. And that means when you look at those charges of ex trafficking, it's force, coercion, and violence. That's why talking about the violence and the level of control continues to solidify those specific charges against Combs." Ventura signed a 10-album contract with Combs, label Bad Boy Records, at the beginning of her career, and testified that the mogul had control over her various aspects. So this is interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting. So let's read this, and y'all, after we go over this, if y'all don't have any this is you know what, William? It had to be. And I'm wondering if they got, because that's 20 hours a day with only 4 hours of sleep. And then he says that he had to be at his house in the morning to make sure that his breakfast was being served. Y'all. Let's go over this particular article. And after this, I go over this particular article. If you all don't have any more questions, or if you don't have any comments or anything, if you do, go ahead and put them down in there and we'll kind of go over them together. But if not, this is going to be the last article that we're going to do, and then we'll just come back tomorrow and see what's going on. How Carey Morgan and Don Richards corroborated Cassie Ventura's testimony, according to legal analysts. Former Danica Kane group member Don Richard and Carey Morgan, a former friend of Cassie's, both testified in Sean Diddy Combs' criminal federal trial today. Their testimonies helped corroborate Ventura's account, legal analyst Mercedes Colwin says. Colwin says Morgan's testimony really is about the corroboration of the violence that Cassie Ventura endured at the hands of Combs, who had testified last week about the abuse, kicking, the punching, the dragging she endured during her years-long relationship with Combs. And now you have Carey Morgan, her former best friend, come forward and say that Cassie lost her spark and that she was subjected to punching and being dragged on the floor. She added that Morgan also testified that she begged Cassie to leave Combs, but Cassie said that she was unable to because of the level of control that Combs had over her life, and that he controlled every aspect of her finances, her apartment, her car, and frankly, her career. Now, we just saw in David James' testimony, and he was saying, he talked about, according to David James, that Diddy was grooming, she was moldable, she was young and moldable. And she was willing to do whatever he wanted him or her to do. Morgan also testified today that she had to end this long friendship with Ventura because she too suffered an assault by Combs. Colwin added that Richard's testimony today about how she witnessed the abuse by Combs and Ventura was corroborated Ventura's testimony. These are two very compelling witnesses. So again, last week they were going over the sex. This week they were going over the assaults. And so I'm wondering if this assistant is going to corroborate any of these assaults or anything like that, and what he has to contribute to all of this. All right, people. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will be back here tomorrow, and we will be going over this Diddy stuff. You know what? Animals are cute. basically, because you know, he found out that this young man was trying to date Cassie. He blackballed him. According to this particular witness, but we didn't get to it thing. This is the chef, this lady right here. They're saying that he abused her. This lady right here. Let me get a single shot of her.
Hey, chefies. Today I'm going to go over how to make this bomb almond flour gluten-free bread. It fits the keto and paleo diets as well. And yeah, so
this is her. He apparently attacked her.
Pretty big event.
He apparently attacked her friend. He apparently attacked her friend, Carrie. And then lastly, we've learned out of all the witnesses, he apparently locked this young lady from her testimony in her lawsuit, that he locked her. This is his band member. He locked her in a car that she couldn't get out. She was so stuck that she had to call her father from Baltimore to come get her out of the car in the middle of winter. So yeah, he's got a lot going on. He better be so happy about that. And for whatever, Ryan Coogler doesn't seem like he's like Hollywood like that. You know, I believe he moves and he shakes, but I don't think he's like, you know how Diddy them, they love to party. You know, Diddy is larger than life. He loves to party. He loves to do all of those things. I don't think Coogler is really interested in all of that. And yeah, you're right. Thank goodness he had somebody that can balance all of that, because can you imagine? You know, now that I think about this thing, William, I'm glad that he got, I'm glad he didn't go in, because you remember, how Diddy had an issue with Drake and he smacked or punched Drake to the point that J. Cole had to come to his rescue. They were fighting. Now, I don't know what happened or what was going over on that. Some people said that it was about a woman. Some people say it was about something else, but I don't know exactly what it was. But I'm glad that he did not get in that. I'm glad he didn't go in there, because can you imagine the level of violence he possibly could have bestowed on that young man? It probably was the best thing ever for Michael B. Jordan not to be able to party with Diddy. He might be the only person in entertainment that we can I'm glad too. And I'm just glad just for safety reasons, because Diddy, you know, they have going through this trial. It is apparent that Diddy is not a safe person. Diddy is not a safe person. And I would be interested, because we heard all these different women that he's talking to. I'd be very interested to know how he treated the other women that he was involved with. Or was this just Cassie and Kim that got all the vitriol, and Gina? Because I heard that he you know, allegedly that he beat her down. I don't know if she's going to testify or not, but allegedly that he beat her down. Oh, we've got a couple of more updates. So let me read these couple of more updates. It says here, I can't get out. Ex-assistant recalls Ventura saying about her early relationships. David James, who was an assistant to Sean Diddy Combs from 2007 to 2009. He wasn't going to make it any longer than that with 20-hour workdays. He wasn't going to make it. 20-hour workdays, 2 years, it was enough for his resume to be padded right. But he wasn't going to make it any further. Woocha. He wasn't going to make it. Sorry about that. He testified he was with Combs in Miami when he first met Cassie Ventura. Combs rented a yacht and they partied all weekend. James said he recalled Combs saying that he wanted to impress Ventura that weekend. James said that he and Ventura didn't speak frequently, but he recalled 2 specific conversations he had with her. While in Miami, sometime within the first year of working with Combs, James said he was standing with Ventura on a dock on Star Island. And man, this lifestyle is crazy, James recalled Ventura saying. He agreed and suggested that she leave, he testified. And he said Ventura told him, I can't get out. She told him that Combs controlled her music career, paid for her apartment, and gave her an allowance, James testified. I just didn't think that she could easily leave, James said on the stand. Ventura had testified that she had signed a contract with Combs' company, Bad Boy Records, in early 2006, and they struck up a platonic relationship. After a boat party in Miami, their relationship became more intimate and freak-offish. Combs' ex-assistant said Ventura was happy about working on an album. David James, an assistant with Sean Diddy Combs, recalled a second conversation he had with Cassie Ventura when they shared a cab to the Sundance Film Festival. James said Ventura was super happy about an album she was working on. I don't remember that album coming out, James testified. Didn't nobody remember that album? It didn't come out. He also described a time when a business associate asked Combs about Porter and Ventura. Combs said Porter was doing well and described her as his queen. When Combs talked about Ventura, James said he being Puffy, described her as moldable. I got her right where I want her. She's young, Combs said, according to James. So if anybody is this is his testimony, and we hadn't heard the cross yet. But if anybody has any issues or doubt that he worked on and groomed Cassie, y'all can. Yeah, he did, and y'all can kick rocks and say that he didn't. He did. I think it was Kim Porter moving out to Los Angeles, moving to California after she had the twins was a great move for her, because she kept almost a good distance against away from Puffy. And I know that a lot of those folks that lived in New York, they were moving out to California. I know, particularly when that market crashed. So a lot of people sold their New York apartments, and they all bought mansions or whatever out, because whatever they would sell their New York apartments for, it would be enough for them to go out and buy a mansion out in California. So a lot of them, because I just remember the time, you remember when Jay-Z and Beyonce had moved to California, and Jay-Z and Beyonce stayed in New York for years. You remember when Alicia Keys and her husband moved out to California? Who else moved out there? There was a lot of artists that were living in New York, and then they decided to move out to California at that time, because again, New York was, I don't know what was really going on in New York, but New York wasn't where they wanted to be. It looked like the action was all out in California, in the Hollywood area. All right, people, we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you cannot stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, bye-bye. Wait a minute, hold on. Thank you. I want to know what Usher just. Well, Usher was mentioned that he was at a party when somebody got smacked. So I'm just saying. Somebody he was at a party and Justin, I think he did an interview saying that he didn't have anything to happen. So I don't know. But anyway. Exactly. We know this, but everyone says no. She had agency, because it's always amazing how anyway. But it's always amazing that you look at those types of relationships where these people have 15 to 20 years difference in ages, and then they want to say, oh well, we were, there's some sort of grooming. If you start dating somebody, you start at 19, you sign her, and then in those couple of years, you are working and molding, and you're using the fact that she signed a 10-album deal, and so she's feeling like she's beholden because you have her career in her hand. All of this stuff. So, and he basically said it. That's what he did. He molded her. Yeah, he did. All right, people. Bye-bye.